Hello, hello. Oh man, it's getting a little grimy, or it's just dark in here. Sucking all the light out, apparently. So, reading a bit of Tanya. It's a Hebrew book, and it's very interesting stuff. I mean, the amount of wisdom that comes from being in a very dark place. I'm not a Jew. I'm not even really religious. I'm starting because I realized how far I've fallen, and there's no life without a God. And I feel that my life has been dog shit. It's a good life, but a rough road to wisdom. It's like I started at the end, and now I gotta freaking work my way back the other direction, which is not recommended. Well, yeah. So going through chapters 19 and 21, and the thing about Tanya is, or the way rabbis teach it, is it's always in a very blessed, positive outlook, which it should be. It's a very enlightening book, and those who really follow the Torah and uh, have practiced it their whole lives, it certainly will result in a very good, blessed, holy life. But also, from the other side of things, you can you can understand the crushing pain when you're in judgment in the midst of repenting. I'll be repenting for the rest of my life from this. This has been. I hope somebody gains some wisdom from these recordings one day. It really fucking hurts. But so blessed be he, no gods before me. That does not deny the existence of other gods, but they must operate under his will. So as you can work with other gods as long as you're working in a righteous fashion, which I've been able to do. And the problem for me is that I'm not a religious uh, and like just at the beginning when I'm in a very advanced place. And there's a way that in here, let's see, chapter 19 speaks about the sinner actually will have a higher calling than the totally righteous man because he experiences more. And I see why. As I read, the wisdom jumps out of the pages at me. And you start to understand the why evil is evil and how so. It's, the self-service, which is so much of this world. It's freaking it's very intense to observe. And the uh, non-kosher foods, you see the understanding behind that and why it's uh, not kosher. And the hardest part is making that U-turn, because I've clearly been in and am under constant judgment, and now that I'm conscious of it, there's no turning back. Eventually, I'm going to have to get the rules down to a T, get myself in line, but the wisdom that will come from this will be very grand. And I think this is what our world needs desperately is, all of the religious institutions teach the bright side, and there's so many people in suffering that don't understand because they don't understand what they did even like that you got to teach what people are doing wrong just as much as right. Oh, 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 oh. Sorry, I'm not doing too hot, but like for one example here is the gnat is one of the most sinful creatures because it eats and it doesn't even excrete, which is such a ridiculous tiny little thing, but you understand it's like truly only living for itself and devouring. And there's no, like, I mean, I guess there's other insects that eat it, but it's like in its creation, it's the lowest of the Kalipa, which is the non, it's like the dark part of the tree of life that's part of God, but he's like, hey, he really don't like you. And the problem there is in that section of the tree is idolatry, which I don't idolize. I don't like bow down to any gods, really, as far as I know, consciously. Maybe I owe some, and yeah, like I've always wanted to understand their existence and how can we help them work within God's will. Like, how do you redeem Lucifer, for example? Like, these things deserve to be studied. Why not? And I'm not suggesting you do it the wrong direction like I have, but well, yeah, the other really interesting part is there's a certain level of sin where the only way out, the only way of redemption is martyrdom, which is pretty warlike. It explains a lot of the wars that go on. And why don't they teach that? They just keep the meat grinder going. But they talk about like the Gentiles, which are basically non-Jews who live for themselves, and that would describe a lot of the world. I think that would explain so much of the suffering. And yeah. Oh, it makes my head hurts so bad right now. Where there is no wisdom, there is no fear. And in relation to it, the Torah is called a gateway to the dwelling. However, not every mind can sustain such fear. Even he whose mind cannot bear such a fear at all, whether in whole or in part, because of the inferiority of his soul's level and its root, and the source in the lower gradations of the 10 Sephirot of the world of Asaya. I think I think that's the world of formation. Nevertheless, the lack of such fear is no obstacle to performance. But that fear thing. So, emotionality is actually incredibly important. If you don't feel fear, like last year, I had an incredible fear. I was like a freaking scared shitless for my life. And I think I understand why. I was like, oh, here it comes. I had no idea what was going on. And here we are now getting rocked. I honestly think I did not pass judgment. And I'm so tired all the time. My whole body hurts all the time. I can barely function. Oh, you might want to plug in. Oh, no. And yeah. But I find this very interesting because it totally adds up, you know. And the way the wisdom comes out of the page and I'm able to like have aha moments is so glorious. But yeah, the Ein Sof, the infinite light, you can't escape it. But if you fall low enough, you basically become a machine. And in that machine state, it's very hard to get out of because I think it says basically martyrdom is what you have to do. But like you have way less emotions, you're not able to think clearly, like your intellect goes out. Like you're slowly cutting yourself off from the source of life. You're basically dying while you're still alive. I think that's why for so many years it's like, dude, I just feel dead. I feel totally dead inside. And like it's so interesting. I love it. I love it. But prayer is such a huge thing. I'm gonna have to start doing it all the time now. And teshuva, that's Jewish repentance. And it's crazy. Like the music I listen to now will have like a much different outlook. Like depending how low I am, it'll speak to me in a different like spectrum of my being. And like, oh, but yeah. And these are songs that are recorded like years ago. But I think when you start observing reality from the Ein Sof perspective and the totality of God, the time doesn't really matter. You're alive, you did the thing, and like this is where the idea of like frequency and vibration falls in. Like the time is just a concept, and like age is just a number. But yeah, you want to talk about white supremacy? Freaking, this world is crazy. Well, hey, we're learning. That's what life is. You learn, right? You live and you learn, and you slave. You become a slave because you're a Gentile. And nobody will teach you why you're dying, why your whole life has been dog shit. But once you get judgment, you learn. When it works out, it works out. A lot of rules, a lot of rules, a lot of rules, me boy. A lot of rules, a lot of rules, a lot of rules.